Chapter 10, Unmasking the Machine. In this episode, we stop speaking in polite euphemisms and start naming the system for what it is, a deeply embedded machinery of control that runs through medicine, money, education, religion, and government. We're pulling back the curtain on the forces that profit from your confusion, your dependence, and your disconnection. And yes, it does get intense. Chapter 10, Unmasking the Machine. Let's not mince words. Behind the global structures we've been taught to trust, government, health authorities, banks, schools, organized religion, lurks a shadow force, a parasitic presence that has burrowed into every layer of our world, sowing disconnection, control, and spiritual paralysis. I call them the dark, not the elite, not even the globalists or the shadow government. Parasites, that's what they are. This force is not a recent invention. It has been operating for a millennia, camouflaged behind the machinery of civilization. Their goal? To keep humanity disempowered, disconnected, distracted, and dependent. They mean for us to be the perpetual workhorse and financial battery. They've corrupted our food supply with toxins and GMOs. They've turned medicine into a profit-driven weapon while burying the truth about indigenous cures and our natural healing abilities. They've taught our children lies through education systems designed to break spirit, not build it. They've created false religions to shame the body and distort the divine. They've built a financial system designed to trap you in eternal debt servitude. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The world you've been taught to love is not the world that exists. Pretending otherwise empowers your captors. Truth doesn't require permission. If you're going to ascend in any real way, if you're going to be part of the healing of this planet, you're going to need to stop running from the uncomfortable and face what's hiding in plain sight. The truth may not always be pretty, but it is always freeing. Back to the Khazarian Mafia and the Vatican Jesuit Order and the Old World bloodline families. They are not relics of a conspiratorial past. They are active architects of the world we inhabit. Their fingerprints are on everything from interest rates to international treaties, biotech rollouts to billion-dollar bailouts. These aren't disconnected power players. They are factions of an ancient, interwoven machine, ritualistic, hierarchical, and obsessive in their quest to dominate through deception. The Khazarian lineage itself didn't vanish. It evolved, cloaking itself behind rebranded surnames, front organizations, and philanthropic facades. They masquerade as political leaders, religious authorities, or global innovators, but their allegiance is not to the people. It is to a shadow priesthood of control, an esoteric network that thrives on hierarchy, secrecy, and the extraction of power through spiritual inversion. They are masters of inversion. The Vatican shields its true influence behind stained glass and sacred texts, but beneath the robes lies a dark marriage of empire and sorcery. The Jesuit order, far from being a neutral religious society, functions as the intellectual and geopolitical espionage arm of the spiritual cartel. Their role? To infiltrate, indoctrinate, and manipulate, shaping educational systems, seeding ideological wars, and obscuring metaphysical truths. Meanwhile, the so-called noble bloodlines, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Windsors, Orsinis, Pazers, and their generations of intermarried kin, continue to hoard planetary wealth and steer geopolitical outcomes. Through selective breeding and ancestral ritual, they maintain a multi-generational spiritual hierarchy designed to keep themselves in alignment with what they perceive as divine rule, backed not by source, but by a corrupt inversion of what is moral, loving, and just. The global chessboard is their theater. Wars are their currency. Epidemics their leverage. Disasters, both natural and engineered, are not unfortunate events, but energy harvesting mechanisms. Behind the scenes of every humanitarian response or economic summit is a contract, a spell, a trade in human autonomy for subjugation. Understand, this is not about hating the so-called elite. It's about seeing the machine. The moment you stop following systems designed to dominate, you reclaim the authority to dismantle them. These systems were built to harm you with intention. The deeper truth, the one they've tried for centuries to bury, is that they are few. You are many. Their survival depends on illusion. Your awakening ends it. Dark fuel, trauma as currency. Let's talk about the engine that fuels their entire control matrix. Trauma. Not just any trauma, but engineered, ritualized, weaponized trauma. The kind that fractures the psyche, splinters the soul, and severs the human connection to source. The kind that is programmed, triggered, and replicated across generations. Satanic ritual abuse, or SRA, is not fringe theory. It is the hidden scaffolding beneath global institutions. Its methods have been systemized and widely dispensed through government programs like MKUltra and Project Monarch, budget operations by bloodline elites, and institutionalized under the guise of national security and psychiatric experimentation. Through repeated trauma, rape, electroshock, isolation, deprivation, forced drugging, and ritualized torture, subjects, very often children, are broken open. Dissociation becomes survival. In those cracks, the programmers go to work, creating altars, installing scripts, embedding handlers, laying trauma loops into the subconscious. The subjects aren't just victims, they are assets, built to obey, perform, seduce, spy, kill, or self-destruct on command. Every scream, every tear, every betrayal is harvested as loosh. This is life force energy for non-physical entities who feed on pain. This is the metaphysical component most people miss. See, it's not only about domination, it's about sustenance. The rituals open portals, the blood seals contracts, the terror fuels the dark grid. Mind control programming doesn't stop at underground chambers or elite estates like seen in the film Eyes Wide Shut. The very culture we consume, music videos, award shows, fashion runways, magazine covers, is coded with symbols and triggers. Public trauma rituals are cloaked as entertainment. Mass shootings, school tragedies, and high-profile deaths often follow uncanny patterns with dates, numerology, and media scripting echoing with dark ceremonial rites. The same families show up again and again, the same motifs, the same foundations. Royals and billionaires acquire children by the thousands. Yet we never see them again. Hollywood and music stars emerge overnight with handlers, eventual breakdowns, and reinvention after rehab. Ask yourself why trauma survivors with no connection to one another often describe the same symbols, same language, same rituals. It's because this isn't random, it's a system. The elites who run it were often victims themselves, broken, programmed, and spiritually inverted from birth. That doesn't excuse them. It does explain the loyalty and the silence, as well as the generational lockstep. You want to dismantle the cabal? Start with its power source. Until we stop feeding the global trauma engine with our agony and despair, mourning, victimhood, desperation, depression, sadness, and fear, we'll be rearranging shadows. Real freedom means exposing the root system and stop feeding it. This includes the occult rituals, the stolen children, and the dark contracts. Only then can we collapse the grid they feed from. Brotherhood or blood oath. Freemasonry is a name you've likely heard, often mentioned in the same breath as fraternity, charity, or tradition. At the lower levels, that's not entirely wrong. Many Masons are good men. Their lodges raise funds for local causes, sponsor scholarships, and support widows and orphans. The tenets of moral development, personal integrity, and fraternal support are genuine at the base. That's not where the story ends. What most members don't realize is that Freemasonry is a compartmentalized system. Like an iceberg, the public-facing structure is only the tip. As one rises through the degrees, particularly beyond the publicly acknowledged 33rd level, everything changes. The teachings become more esoteric, the oaths more binding, and the symbols more charged. The light they speak of is not metaphorical, it is Luciferian. By the time initiates reach the highest degrees, they are no longer part of a fraternity. They are part of a priesthood, sworn to secrecy above all else. These oaths supersede family, conscience, and law. Secrecy becomes sacrament. Sacrament comes with consequences: ritual expulsion, spiritual targeting, and in some cases, literal death or character assassination. At the hidden levels, sometimes referred to as the inner order, members are hand-selected, not promoted. These levels are not visible on charts. They are not found in handbooks. They exist in a closed circuit of bloodline ties, hidden rights, and occult allegiances. Here, Lucifer is not denied. He is revered as the bearer of illumination, the liberator of man from the tyranny of God. Rituals become darker. The manipulation of energy, intent, and sacrifice becomes explicit. The line between brotherhood and blackmail blurs. Freemasonry, like many ancient institutions, was infiltrated, not invented for evil. Its roots trace back to stone guilds, sacred geometry, and the architecture of holy creation. Over time, it was hijacked. First by opportunists, then by occultists, then by those who sought to weaponize its structure for global influence. The Masonic system became a perfect vessel for covert power, hierarchical, self-policing, oath-bound, and masked by benevolence. The infiltration didn't stop at lodges. Masonic influence can be traced through the founding of the United States, the Vatican's inner chambers, intelligence agencies, the music industry, and Hollywood. Look closely at national monuments, corporate logos, and world capitals. You'll find the same symbols echoed again and again: the square and the compass, the all-seeing eye, the capstone of the pyramid. These are not coincidences, they are signatures. To those reading this who are part of Masonic lodges and who joined in good faith to better themselves or serve their community, this is not an indictment. It's a call to discernment. You may be walking a noble path. Still, I urge you, do not chase the hidden knowledge they dangle as a prize. What lies beyond the veil is not enlightenment. It is ensnarement. The true light does not require blood oaths or secrecy to shine. The machine has a name. You've heard the term, maybe you've dismissed it. However, the deep state is no myth. It's the operational arm of the parasite class, the shadow mechanism behind the veil of democracy and diplomacy. It goes by so many names: the cabal, the elite, the shadow government, Illuminati, Jesuit Order, Council of 300, CFR, and Trilateral Commission members, SES, Bilderbergs, Khazarian Mafia, the Rothschild Central Bank Network, globalists, the UNWEF Consortium. Call it what you like. The label is distraction. The function is what matters. This machine isn't a theory. It's an interlocking web of financial dynasties, intelligence networks, and spiritual perversion embedded in every institution you were raised to trust: government, healthcare, media, tech, education, defense, religion. It operates like a parasite inside a host, manipulating from within. The structure is hierarchical and cellular. Most people inside it have no idea what they're truly serving. Compartmentalization keeps the foot soldiers blind. Orders come from above, cloaked in layers of bureaucracy, humanitarian language, or with labels like science. There are two kinds of players, puppets and puppet masters. The puppets are carefully selected, groomed, and elevated. Entertainers, politicians, CEOs, doctors, and influencers. If they don't comply, they're blackmailed or removed. If they do, they're rewarded with power, prestige, and protection. Nonetheless, they're not in charge. They're the face of the machine, not its brain. The puppet masters operate decades in advance. They write the scripts for your crises, your revolutions, your breakthroughs. They manufacture chaos, then offer their prepackaged solutions. Every crisis becomes a conduit for control. Every event serves a ritual purpose. They tell you the science is settled, when science is never settled. They tell you that silencing dissent is necessary for public safety. They tell you that masks save lives, that lockdowns are compassion, that untested injections are safe and effective. They tell you men can be women and children can consent. They tell you that objecting to these things is dangerous. The more absurd the narrative they put forth, the more obedient the populace must become. Logic is replaced by fear. The machine wins. These are not separate movements. They are coordinated psychological operations designed to fracture reason, disrupt family structure, and erode personal freedom. The battlefield is your mind. The goal is your submission. Once you see it, the sleight of hand becomes obvious. The buzzwords lose their power. The actors lose their masks. The machine becomes visible, not just as theory, but as an enemy. When that happens, the spell breaks. You are the disruption. As the old structures fall, they will not go quietly. They will not admit defeat. They will not hand over the reins and say, "You win." Instead, they will double down on fear. They will do their utmost to manufacture more division, distraction, and dread. They'll stir up race wars, gender wars, class wars, religious wars, anything to keep you from noticing that they are the ones behind the curtain. They will deploy new crises to distract from the truth. Expect it, recognize it, refuse to be baited. You are not here to be a passive observer. You are not here to wait for a savior, a politician, or a disclosure date. You are the disclosure. Your frequency, your clarity, your voice, your integrity. These are the weapons that dissolve the dark. Every time you choose coherence over chaos, you fracture their control. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you collapse another program. Every time you refuse to play their game, you rewrite the rules. No more bypass. The next phase of growth, this unmasking of the physical world, demands something deeper than spiritual platitudes. It demands the rebellious clarity of a warrior seer. It demands the heart of a mystic and the spine of a soldier. Because what you're about to face is not just global in scale, it is personal. You will see how you, too, were programmed, how you participated in your own hypnosis, how you defended illusions that felt safe, how parts of you may be clinging to the very system that harms you. That's okay. There is no shame in it. We've all been duped by mass hypnosis. The danger is in not awakening at all. The physical world must be looked at head on, not in avoidance and not in blind rage, but faced in lucid defiance. Thank you for listening to this excerpt.